5G is not just about letting you download films faster on your phone, although it will do that, but it could also control the driverless cars of the future, operate power stations, in fact, provide the connectivity between all the systems that underpin a modern economy and which potentially, therefore, could disrupt it. After a last meeting of the National Security Council in Downing Street today, the government announced the Chinese company Huawei would be allowed to build part of the UK's 5G network, but with restrictions.
With Huawei in particular, they'll be banned and excluded from core parts of our 5G and full fibre network. And that's really important. They'll have nothing to do with critical national infrastructure or our security aspects of communications at all.
Huawei is already part of the UK's 4G network. Today means it will be allowed to build antennae and base stations for 5G, but not software. But that is already too risky for some.
It's a given, I think, that Huawei are a security risk. It's also a given that we've been in a kind of cyber war with China, who are constantly trying to raid our systems, attack our processes, as have Russia, and that Huawei is really a state-based enterprise that I think masquerades as a private company.
Huawei has welcomed today's announcement, but it is still classified by the UK government as a high-risk vendor. What do they think of that?
We're used to being classified as high risk, and now, because one of the reasons why we're high risk is we have a high market share.
Isn't it more to do with the fact that people think you maybe are just an arm of the Chinese government?
That might be a consideration, but that would be incorrect.
Today's decision is based on advice from the security services that the really sensitive parts of the 5G network can be protected and isolated. But for some, that is a bold statement.
Some of the technical concerns that have been raised about that are the extent to which we're going to be able to guarantee that the core and then the edge of the network won't blur into each other a bit more.
The government says to have excluded Huawei would have set broadband development back by years. Its opponents say it may pay an even higher price in compromised national security.
Well, let's speak to Andy. How much of a row, then, is this likely to cause between Boris Johnson and Donald Trump?
Well, Danny, the American government has very publicly been putting pressure on Boris Johnson not to go down this road. Now they have here in London, and I'm sure there will be a pretty furious response from the other side of the Atlantic. We haven't heard from Donald Trump himself yet, but there's been quite a lot of criticism out of Washington already. One senator there saying that today's decision by Britain is the equivalent of allowing the Soviet Union to build your telephone system during the Cold War. And by coincidence, the American Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, is due to fly in to London tomorrow. That could be a bit of an awkward encounter. All I would say from Boris Johnson's point of view is, up to now, the criticism of him when it comes to Donald Trump is that he's been trying to be too cosy, too chummy with the American president. Boris Johnson can point to this decision today and say, well, I didn't do that this time.
OK, Andy Bell, thank you.